You know, we've all been there. You've got this long list of things you want, but a wallet that has, well, very clear limits. So how do you choose? It turns out economics actually gives us a kind of blueprint for that exact problem. Let's dive in and build it.
I mean, it's a constant battle, right? You're weighing that dream vacation against, this month's rent. Or maybe it's the cool new gadget versus tucking that money away for the future. The thing is, we're all making these kinds of trade-offs all the time. They literally shape our financial lives.
So, how do we make sense of it all? Well, instead of just guessing, we're going to build a model. Now think of it like a map for your financial world. It's a tool that takes a messy reality and simplifies it, just enough to show you what's actually possible. Okay, so every good map needs a starting point, a "you are here" sign. For economists building this map, that starting point is one big, powerful assumption, that we are all perfectly rational shoppers.
So who is this rational consumer? Well, in this model, they're not driven by impulse buys or flashy marketing. They have all the info, prices, their income, and they use it with pure logic to get the most satisfaction possible. It's definitely a simplified ideal, but it's an absolutely crucial first step to understanding choice.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Real life is way messier than this, right? We're driven by emotions, by gut feelings, not just cold, hard logic. And that's totally true. But to build our map, we have to start with this clean, rational framework. It gives us a clear baseline before we start adding in all the wonderful complexities of real human psychology. All right, let's start drawing our map. The very first thing we need to draw is the border, the edge of the map. Economists call this the budget line. And this line, it marks the absolute limit of your spending power. So, to make this real, let's put some numbers on it. Let's imagine your total income, which we'll just call M for money, is exactly 100 euros.
And to keep things simple, let's say you're only spending that money on two things: food, which we'll call good X, and housing, which we'll call good Y. Food costs 10 euros per kilo, and housing is 5 euros per square meter. Got it? Those are our prices.
Okay, here is the one fundamental rule you can't break. Your total spending on food plus your total spending on housing cannot be more than your 100 euro income. This super simple formula defines the entire boundary of your financial map. Any combination of food and housing that fits inside that formula is a choice you can afford to make.
So how do we actually draw this on our map? It's surprisingly easy. First, just imagine you spend all your money on housing. 100 euros gets you 20 square meters. Okay, that's 1 point on our map. Now, what if you spend it all on food instead? That's 10 kilos. That's our second point. Now, just connect those two dots, and boom, that's your budget line. Anything on that line or inside of it is fair game. But of course, life isn't static, right? Things change. So our financial map isn't static either. It moves, it shifts, it changes shape. Let's see how that works. So let's start with a good one. Imagine you get a raise at work. Your income, M, goes up. How does that change your map of possibilities? Your entire map just gets bigger. It's that simple. Since you have more money, you can afford more of both food and housing, so the whole line just shifts outward, perfectly parallel to the old one. Why parallel? Because the prices didn't change. You just unlocked a whole new territory of choices. Okay, but let's try a different scenario. What if your income stays exactly the same, but the price of just one thing changes? Let's say food, our good X, suddenly gets more expensive. This time, your map doesn't just shift, it pivots. Think about it for a second. The maximum amount of housing you can buy hasn't changed at all, right? But the max food you can afford? That's dropped. So the line literally rotates inward, anchored on one side, making it steeper. Your world of choices just shrank, but only for one of the goods. And this brings us to what is, honestly, the most powerful insight our map can give us. That line we drew isn't just a boundary. It's actually telling us a much deeper story, and that story is hidden in its slope. Now, mathematically, the slope of this line is just the price of good X divided by the price of good Y. It's a simple ratio of the two prices, but this little formula, this is what unlocks the true meaning of making a choice. So in our example, that's minus 10 divided by 5, which gives us a slope of minus 2. Great, but this isn't a math class. What does a slope of negative 2 actually mean? That number represents the hidden price, the real cost of every single decision you make.
And that brings us to this huge idea, opportunity cost.
See, the slope of that line doesn't just measure steepness, it measures sacrifice. It tells you exactly how much of one thing you have to give up to get just a little bit more of the other. That is the true cost of a decision.
So, let's bring it all home. What does that slope of -2 really tell us? It means the opportunity cost of buying 1 more kilogram of food is giving up 2 square meters of housing. That's the trade-off. The market is forcing you to make that choice. Suddenly, it's not about euros anymore, is it? It's about what you're foregoing. This map doesn't just show you what you can buy, it reveals what every single purchase truly costs you.
So, next time you're about to buy something, don't just look at the price tag. Think about the slope. What's the real opportunity cost? What are you truly giving up to get it? Because once you start mapping your choices, you start making all those invisible costs visible.